Before I really get into it, and no snark here at all, congratulations to Amberlyn Reed for losing about 50 pounds. Continue on your journey, girl. Question: does Jillian Michaels win if I lose weight? I am fat. Despite this, I'm in mostly good health. Just a little joint and muscle pain. And for the first time since I was young, I love my body. I've always been a big woman. Now I'm just a little bigger. I've been joining some fat positive and fat liberation movements because, we deserve to have rights and be part of life. But lately, my foot has been hurting. And even though I'm on good terms with my body, I'm noticing that certain physical pains that I don't remember having when I weighed just 100 pounds less. I think I would like to start trying to lose weight again, just without the fad diets while exercising reasonably, just until I get comfortable. Only, Jillian Michaels recently said some fat-phobic thing about the singer Lizzo, and it puts into perspective again how vile people can be to fat people, and still get away with it. After all, The Biggest Loser is back again. Am I betraying a worthy cause by losing weight? Love my fat self, but I want to be comfortable again. I know my body is my own, and I could be fat positive as a fat person or a thin person. I'm not even talking about getting thin, just losing some weight. But I feel like a fraud for even thinking about it. Should I stop following my fat positive peers and take a step back while I'm losing weight? Am I a fraud? So let me get this straight. She plans on winning by not being healthy?
I deem this victory Pyrrhic!
Ugh, I just got off my phone with my mom. During our conversation, I told her that I haven't been sleeping well, and that my sleep apnea is worse than it was in 2018 when I had a sleep study. She immediately asked if I've gained weight since 2018, and I said I have. She then blamed my worsening sleep apnea on my weight gain. Now I feel so triggered and like I should lose weight, but I know that isn't even healthy. Anyone have any articles I can read about sleep apnea that doesn't link it to weight gain?
Huge mistake to theorize before one has data. Inevitably, one begins to twist facts to shoot theories instead of theories to shoot facts.
So, I'm obese. I've had many diets, and finally my wise-as-hell doctor told me to eat less. So in September I started an extreme diet in which I literally lived on 300 to 500 calories a day and lost 3 stone in a little under a month. I was so weak I could barely get up out of bed myself. And I'm just now realizing how effed up it was that people, doctor included, were literally congratulating me for starving myself to death. Pretty much just backs up the notion that skinniness is valued more than health. And when people say they're concerned about your weight, they don't mean that they just want you to be healthy. They just want you to be more aesthetically pleasing. I'm so sorry you're struggling with disordered eating, but you cannot blame your doctor for that. It's his job to tell you if you're obese, and he's right. A calorie deficit is the single only thing that will lead to weight loss. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like he gave you any actual advice on how to do that. I would recommend seeing a registered dietitian to find out your body's needs, and learn how to have a healthier relationship with food. And I'll be blunt, I'm sick and tired of the notion that all of us who worry about others' health are just saying that as a way to cover up that we somehow hate fat people and just want them to look nice. The large majority of us really do just hope our family and friends struggling with obesity lose weight for their health and mobility. Other people's health is none of your business, period. And it's certainly not a doctor's job to tell someone to lose weight if that's what they're not there for. If a person can't change it in 5 seconds, food in their teeth, leaf in their hair, you keep your mouth shut. You're not helping. You're just doing your part to make fat people feel bad. Fat isn't unhealthy. You just don't like looking at it. I've been morbidly obese. It's hard. People laugh at you. It's hard to find clothes that are cute, but easier than it used to be. It's hard to get up the nerve to go to the gym. But even harder is daily living. It sucked how much my feet always hurt. My joints always hurt. Airplane seats were too small. Exercise was hard. I was always sweating. I couldn't sit with my legs crossed. I couldn't wear skirts because of thigh chafing. Then in December 2016, I had a checkup that showed I had pre-diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver syndrome, as well as high blood pressure and cholesterol. The cause was my weight. I've lost and maintained 130 pounds, and my life is immensely better now. So yes, now when I see family members or friends struggling with obesity, I absolutely worry about their health. I'm not going to tell them because I feel it isn't my place, but I sure as hell hope their doctors do. I have to slightly disagree with this last person. If your friends are doing drugs, eating themselves to death, drinking themselves to death, you have every right to speak up to them. You care about them, you love them, you want them to live. Fat people are told time and time again that we're about to contract diabetes, and if we do, then it means that immediately our eyeballs will fall out, our legs will need to be removed, and we will fall into a coma and die. Perhaps we will catch diabetes from spending too much time with other fats or eating a Twinkie. Who knows? But we'd better be really effing afraid of it. The truth is that the way we talk about type 2 diabetes is so GD harmful and stigmatizing. If a fat person does get type 2 diabetes, then the amount of pain that diagnosis carries can be tremendous. All of the I told you so's from fat haters swirl around their heads. The truth is that fat and thin people get type 2 diabetes. A massive risk factor is genetics. Some people of color are at higher risk, and so are those with PCOS. Diabetes is not caused by eating too much sugar. You are not at fault for your diagnosis. Except, of course, when you are at fault for your diagnosis. And even when you can treat your type 2 diabetes, you're now taking medication which costs you money and almost certainly has side effects for which you may or may not need more medication to cover up.
This is what I just picked up from the grocery store. It cost $32. $32 for one pineapple, 2 bags of grapes, a small container of raspberries, 1 soft drink, and 2 for $1 nuts. Do you know how much junk food I could have for $32? Do you have any clue how much McDonald's you can get for $32? Stop shaming fat people poorer than you, or people poorer than you in general for not eating healthier. Stop lying about how cheap it is, or how it's comparable to fast food. Just stop.
Hallelujah. This has got to be one of the most disingenuous things I've seen in quite a while. Choose all the most expensive fruits and vegetables and then go, "Oh my gosh, look how expensive it is."
There's no such thing as too fat, or too thin, or too old, or too unhealthy, etc. for health at every size. One of the most common misconceptions around health at every size is the idea that there's a point where a person is too far in the extremes of the weight spectrum, or too sick, and that the only solution is changing their weight, size, or shape. It's sad that there's a belief that the only solution for some people is an intervention that often has the opposite effect of what is intended. Not only is intentional weight loss associated with weight gain, it can also be detrimental to health by increasing the chances of weight cycling and disordered eating, and by reinforcing weight stigma, which is associated with negative health outcomes independent of weight. And for those on the other end of the spectrum, the problem and solution don't lie in their weight, but what caused them to be at a lower weight. We need to do better. It's in the name health at every size. Health at every size is for everybody.
Okay, BS. So much BS. Saying that people can't be too thin, too big, BS. There's a point where you are literally dying and your weight is fatal.
You can't predict a person's health status based on their size alone. If a person's size is somehow related to their health, the problem and solution usually is not about their weight. For example, it's not that a person is too thin, it's that malnutrition or a medical condition like cancer or an eating disorder caused the weight loss. And you're right, there is a point that we are literally dying, and that is the moment we are born, because we're all mortal, and that has nothing to do with how much we weigh.
Near as I can tell, their point is that we're already dying, so no need to bother to try to extend our life to the maximum potential. Kind of wild how doctors can refuse to perform life-saving top surgery for fat patients until they lose tons of weight because of the increased risks for the liver and anesthesia, but they won't refuse service to fat patients for life-threatening weight loss surgery. Literally just got refused for gallstone surgery because of the risk and told to get weight loss surgery first. Doubling my exposure to surgery, you say? I like those odds.
That's not okay. I'm overweight and had no problem getting my gallstones removed. I had been losing weight, but that wasn't even mentioned in the doctor's appointments. If you have the ability, seek out a second option. I hope you get the care you need.
It's pretty clear they don't know much about weight loss surgery because you can be turned away if you're too big for weight loss surgery.
But is body positivity not about loving your body? What if I find myself incapable of loving my body as it is right now? What if I have grown tired of my growing belly and thighs and arms? What if I cannot afford to keep buying larger sizes of clothing? The best answers I can muster for any of these questions are twofold. If I do decide to lose weight someday, it cannot be for these reasons, or rather losing weight should never be my focus or obsession, and at most it should be a passive byproduct of other choices I make in my life. And if I decide to not lose weight, actively or passively, it's possible for me to still love my body now and in the future, and I can find peace with my body if I focus more on what it wants, rather than what I want from it.
You know, simple wants like being able to walk up 5 flights of stairs. Do you think physical fitness reduces the chances of having a heart attack? Or is the link between high body fat percentage and poor cardiovascular health exaggerated?
I think it's impossible to look at a stranger's body and know if they're healthy or not. Being thin and or having visible muscles doesn't mean you're healthier than anyone else.
I was 300 pounds and went to my doctor, and he said I was remarkably healthy. His healthiest patient, and he had patients who were athletes. I was rotund and the healthiest I'd ever been. His healthiest patient? Come on. F being healthy. Health is a myth in the US. Health is what we use to one-up each other. Health is about shame, control, and impossible standards. It's about torturing and starving yourself and hating food in an effort to be healthy, and therefore morally good. It's ableist. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what they're talking about here. Health isn't real? But why only in the US? It's real elsewhere? What are they talking about? This sense no makes. The only study that showed that all participants went back to their starting weight after weight loss was done on morbidly obese patients in a hospital where they didn't have to do anything to lose weight. They were fed pre-prepared food and stuff. If you're not in a situation like that, there's nothing that shows that intentional weight loss doesn't work.
There's hardly one study, hardly, with how obsessed people are with losing weight. Psh, maybe consider the fact that many don't want the information to be available without some serious research.
Just look at all the people who were able to lose weight intentionally. Saying it doesn't work is a lie. I lost 1 kilogram per week without suffering any deficiencies. I had blood work done, and kept it off easily for years. There's tons of other people as well. And yes, the only study that showed that weight loss is a scam is the study I was referencing.
I think the point is to focus on building healthy habits and better relationship with food. If you go from being a couch potato to running a mile every day, you'll feel better. And yes, chances are you lose weight. But if your goal is only the habits themselves, then you've won no matter what the scale says. If you started running just to lose weight and the scale didn't move or went up, you'd be discouraged and probably go back to being a couch potato. The focus should be on the things you can change, like habits, not things we necessarily can't, like the scale. Somebody posts a link. Here's some scientific evidence. Yeah, because it worked for you doesn't mean it will for others. You may be in the genetically lucky 5% that it can work for. Look at Linda Bacon's research documented in Health at Every Size, and then try to tell us there's no research that supports this. I'd shift this from genetically lucky to genetically poorly protected from starvation and restriction.
I totally agree with this. But for me personally, I like to set goals and work to win. So I don't mind having a mentality where seeing my body change for what I find personally attractive makes me feel accomplished.
So true.
Yeah, you know what happened to those people who gained weight back? They stopped doing what they were doing. Diets work. It is confirmed that people lose weight when they are in a big enough calorie deficit for long enough. The reason people gain back the weight is because it takes dedication to keep up the habits that you adapted to lose weight for life. If you lose 40 pounds and then go back to eating like you used to, you'll gain weight right back. You need to work past weight loss. Diets work. People don't. Don't discredit my consistent hard work for being genetically lucky. With a big enough calorie deficit, everyone is able to lose weight. Whether you gain it back or not is up to you. How and how much you eat, and if you keep your muscles. Yeah, fat is meant to be used up in times of starvation or not enough food. It's perfectly normal to lose fat when under eating. It's biologically wired like that, for everyone. That's why people list weight on diets. Your consistent healthy weight choices that make you feel good and come from a joyful, self-loving place are worthy of credit. Intentional weight loss is inherently harmful, so it is not something we should be celebrating. And no, whether we keep the weight off or not is not up to us. For 95% of us, the body will adjust metabolism to gain it right back to its comfortable set point, even if you keep eating and working out at the same way. So I'm sorry. I know this truth is really hard to accept because it flies in the face of everything our sick society has taught us about food and body, but we have to address it and deconstruct the biases and motivations behind it. Phew, that last person got a little excited.
If you're going to excitedly tell me your weight loss story, please don't. I'm going to excitedly tell you my weight gain story. I'm so sick and tired of how diet culture lauds weight loss stories and assumes everyone wants to hear them. They don't, and they're always told as some great accomplishment. They aren't. The truth is that allowing our bodies to gain weight takes far more courage in a fat-phobic world than losing weight does. If you're going to come up to me and try and excitedly tell me how you lost weight, I'm going to stop you and walk away. If you want to tell me excitedly about your weight gain story, I'm eager to listen and I'll share mine with you. The weight loss story has challenges, obstacles. It's a difficult thing to do, and that makes an interesting story, and that's why people care. That, and they're getting healthier. There's no amount of cookies or permission of giving yourself cookies that will bring you to not wanting to eat cookies. That is not the point of unrestricted eating. So they're basically admitting it's an addiction, that no matter how much they eat, they will always crave more, and they don't see anything unhealthy with that? When I tell people in my first aid class that fatness does not cause heart disease, stroke, or diabetes, but rather dieting and the harmful yo-yoing can, it's complicated, look it up, this is super reduced. Every single fat person in the room always stares at me like I have 3 heads. And the thin people are so uncomfortable. It breaks my heart and makes me angry. Let's be serious, the reason they're giving her looks is because they are uncomfortable, because she's saying insane stuff like a flat earther claiming the earth is flat, while everybody else is trying not to offend her by calling her out on her BS. Here's an interesting story. Last week I was on a flight sitting across the aisle from a big dude. I noticed that, like me, he was hyper-aware of when others were walking past him, making sure to pull in his arm and shoulder so as not to inconvenience them. He also sat super upright and seemed to be holding his stomach in for pretty much the entire flight. I know all about these apologetic gestures. Plane travel can be so anxiety-inducing for fat people. You honestly never know if someone is going to utterly dehumanize you in front of a bunch of strangers in an enclosed space from which you cannot escape. I want to compare his behavior with that of a young woman on another flight I was on in the fall. She was super petite, maybe 100 pounds. She moved around a lot, including putting her feet against other passengers, and at one point lying on the ground on her back across the aisle lengthwise, so that people would have to step over her to get to the back of the plane. Yes, really. She is not a representative plane passenger, but I honestly had a very difficult time imagining a fat woman doing this. The most classic example of thin spreading for me is at a time that I walked into the BART platform to wait for a train. I was super tired. I walked to the seating area and saw a woman lying down across 3 seats. So I asked the woman if I could sit down, and she called me a fat bee. And I'm like, wait, isn't your problem with me that I'm theoretically taking up more than my allotted space, which is exactly what you are doing?
You disgust me. How can you live with yourself? You sit on a throne of lies.
The reason there isn't enough room for everyone to sit comfortably in coach is because the airlines designed their seats and arranged them so that they can squeeze the maximum number of travelers on every flight. Note that I don't say the maximum number that can travel comfortably, but simply the maximum number. And then they blame fat passengers for not fitting into seats designed to smush the average house cat until it begs for mercy.
This just makes me wonder, how big is her house cat?
From a list of 10 ways not to be fat-phobic. 2. Selfies taken from above. The religious avoidance of the double chins in selfies, with the camera always held 20 centimeters above the photographer's head, with the face tilted just so, sends a constant message about who and what is worth documenting. Try documenting yourself at different angles. Remember you are photographing a special emotion or an important moment, and that you are trying to capture a two-dimensional image of a complex person. Let's get real. When people post pictures on Instagram, it's mostly so that people can go, ooh, you look nice in that picture. It has nothing to do with fat phobia, and quite often, honestly, it has more to do with their ability to use Photoshop. Noom is, in my honest opinion, the most dangerous new lifestyle diet out there. I tried it for 2 months before I started reading about metabolic damage, insulin resistance, and how calorie restriction is basically putting yourself through a small famine. Noom wanted me to stay within 1,500 calories a day! And when I put in my exercise for the day, I noticed I would only get 40% of the calories added to my total daily allotted. I put myself through a light famine and quickly stopped as soon as I read Secrets from the Eating Lab and the Fuck It Diet. All diets fail and every pound is always gained back, and then some with restriction diets. Super Duper Man Boy replied to this, and his comment is a classic. Well,
If you spent a decade or so basically doing a one-person reenactment of the Feast of Bacchus, then you can spend some time at a calorie deficit. Also, calling a diet a famine is just beyond weird to me. You aren't an Irish farmer in the 1800s, you just need a few more carrots and a few less Little Debbie snack cakes. It's okay if you ate that pint of ice cream to help you cope with the day. Emotional eating is an act of self-care, not a recipe for shame. I agree that it's not a recipe for shame, however, it is also not an act of self-care. You are having an emotional problem, not a stomach problem, and you should deal with your emotional problem in a way that will actually help you deal with your emotions better, such as finding someone to talk to. Anyone else disabled in this group? I broke my right leg 6 years ago and had to have 3 surgeries on it in the following years. The knee was already damaged from tearing a ligament in it in high school 8 years prior, so I just never fully recovered. I am now legally disabled. Standing and walking for more than a few minutes is extremely difficult and painful for me, and I feel like whenever I vent about it, someone always brings up my weight as a factor, even in groups for disabled people. They say stuff like, well, maybe if you lost some weight, it wouldn't be so hard on your leg. It's so frustrating and annoying. I'm guessing the frustrating and annoying part is that these people are saying something true, and you have to accept the fact that you are causing your own problems, at least a little bit. From relationship advice, posted by a 29-year-old male about his wife who is 37 years old. The wife is nearly 400 pounds. I don't understand what happened. I have been encouraging her for years to eat healthier, but she hardly ever tries. And even when she did, it never lasted more than a few days. Now, this is the state of things. I'm terrified she's on her way to becoming immobile. Problems from her size include pain in her joints, especially knees, ankles, and spine, taking a while to get up and down just a few stairs, doesn't fit in her car, I have to sleep in a separate bed, has broken a chair, always tired and no energy, perpetual constipation, and what I suspect is sleep apnea. She lives off fast food delivery, packaged junk like chips and candy. She probably eats more in one day than I do in several. I don't buy this for her. Well, I don't order or physically obtain it, I mean. It is my money, though, because we have a joint account and she hasn't had a job since 2016. But that's a whole other post. She claims I'm abusing her for the following: wanting to give her a set amount of money a week for food, saying she needs to lose weight, questioning if I can remain in this marriage, asking her to help out and clean up after herself, says my objection to her weight is shaming. Are any of these abusive? Am I being controlling and manipulative? She says I'm trying to control her, which is abuse. If we had more money, perhaps the food budget would not be an issue, but her health would still be. She does have health insurance through my job, so she could get professional support. She refuses to go to the doctor for a myriad of different reasons. I counter each reason, but the end result is the same. She just doesn't want to go, simple as that. I mentioned she doesn't work. With so much free time, you'd think she could take care of some things at home, but this usually doesn't happen. She spends, I estimate, around 16 hours per day on her phone and the internet. I come home to crumbs and garbage from snacking wherever she has been laying all day, either the couch or the living room or her bed. 9 times out of 10, I wash the bedding in both of our laundries, clean off the table, stove, and the countertops, clean up the crumbs and food spills, vacuum, and take out the trash. Most of these chores have to happen every day. Even if I'm exhausted, I make time to do them because otherwise ants, flies, and roaches will come. We had 2 infestations requiring professional extermination over the summer. I've also seen a few mice. Why do people let themselves go? I searched for the answer, and the most common cause mentioned in the articles that turned up was depression. Taking comfort in food leading to overeating can be a symptom. So can not keeping up with hygiene, another problem with my wife. So one night I showed my wife what I had been reading and asked her if she was struggling with depression. I'd asked if she'd like me to help find a therapist who I'd be happy to attend with her if she wanted. She got really mad and insisted she was fine, that nothing was wrong with her. But it is not normal to gain such an unspeakable amount of weight, no? She told me I need to take her at her word. By not listening to her, I'm being emotionally abusive. She also said I was uneducated on matters of health. That conversation was a couple weeks ago. I don't know anymore how to make progress. She has issued a moratorium on the subject and refuses to talk about it. Not sure if relevant, but I found she also restricted me from seeing her Facebook posts. I'm worried she could be speaking poorly of me online after that conversation, because why else restrict me? I'm not on Facebook much and have never interacted with her posts inappropriately. I don't start arguments. I really only just click like on things and share memories once in a while.
Most of my interests lie elsewhere. I don't want to question her about this for fear of coming off as controlling again. The doctor is absolutely out of the question. She made that clear 200 pounds ago. This is a problem that has been going on for years now, that I am getting tired of dealing with. Can someone please tell me what else I can do to manage the situation better? Maybe you'll say it cannot be managed if she won't cooperate. If so, what do you suggest I do? Besides her weight, we have no significant problems, so I see divorce as something of a last resort. We've been married for 4 years, by the way. TLDR, please help me form a new plan of addressing my wife's substantial weight and bad eating habits. I don't know how to tell this guy this, and I'm glad I don't have to in real life, but his wife has given up. They're not even sleeping in the same bed. He's going to have to issue an ultimatum that if she's not going to fix her life, he's going to have to leave. She doesn't do anything to help out. She doesn't have a job. She's basically using him as like a mother who takes care of him all the time. And it's just sad. Here's a little something from Get Motivated. When I started losing weight, I noticed people started talking to me or being nicer to me, and that my husband started being more affectionate toward me. I would lay in bed and think, F man, people didn't like me before because I was fat, and I would feel bad. This kind of bad that you feel in your bones, it makes your body ache. I didn't like to think my worth was directly tied to my weight. But what I've come to realize is that it's me. I'm nicer. I'm more approachable. I'm in better moods. I smile. People want to talk to me because I want to talk to people. My husband is more affectionate with me because I'm more affectionate with him. They weren't measuring my worth by my weight. I was. In a summary of an article from Science, the pursuit of basic life goals such as avoiding diseases, maintaining romantic relationships, being accepted by others, achieving social status, and caring for family members helps foster a sense of purpose in life, as they are relevant to our evolutionary fitness, suggests a new study of 1,993 people. I mention this because avoiding diseases fits into the fatlogic section here, because you can avoid a lot of diseases by simply being close to an ideal weight. Not all diseases, but a lot. Reddit is absolutely terrible about body diversity. Even in chubby cat-centered subreddits, it's all inundated with diets. If you're in a subtitle delightfully chubby, I kind of hoped we'd be delighted about chubby cats. Exactly! Animals can come in all shapes and sizes, and even though it can sometimes be necessary to restrict their diets, it isn't going to hurt them to be chubby. Exactly! If your cat's not a cinder block, I think it's okay. But let's be real. If you're in charge of taking care of the health of your pets, you ought to take care of your pets and not delight in how much you've shortened their lifespan. With that said, let's go to dechonkers where people are considering the health of their pets and helping them to live longer lives.